Are there any other nominations? There are no other nominations. The nominations are closed. Mr. Jones, you are now the Assistant Treasurer of the Association. Thank you.
Yes, you may.
Okay. No, we're going on to the next agenda item.
I only have a very brief observation.
No, I don't care what you have, madam.
We know that.
We want to get through.
Is there anything in our bylaws which says that any officer, whether they're a director or not, must be an owner?
Oh, good point.
Yes, you must be an owner. You can't even attend a board meeting if you're not an owner.
I'll explain it to you, okay?
Your explanation
Just a
doesn't hold.
second.
We need a legal explanation.
Okay, I'll tell you where it is. Section 6.1 of your condo bylaws says executive officers of the association shall be president. The president who shall be a director. That's the only officer in the association that has to be a board member. Okay? Has to be a member of the board. That's it. That's the only one. All the other officers after the president can be, the executive officers have to live in the village, the assistant officers don't, but none of the other officers in International Village needs to be a board member.
That wasn't a question, She said an owner. She said that they have to be
I said they have to be
in
an
order to
owner.
be a member of the association, no.
If you're not an owner, you're not a member of the association.
There's no requirement. You can have an assistant vice president that lives in Hong Kong that doesn't own it. You can have your accountant be an assistant treasurer or an assistant secretary.
It's not assistant.
There's no requirement in the law that says you have to live or own an International Village.
But you didn't say as assistant.
They're talking about Terry.
Terry does not have to be an owner, I'm telling you. There's no requirement for, he does not have to be a board member, nor does he have to own property. He has to be, that's it. Anybody could be it.
Scott, you didn't let non-owners come to meetings. When I was the president, you didn't let my videographer, who was a non-owner,
That's right.
you kicked him out because he was a
holds.
non-owner.
And that still holds.
Well, how? I don't understand. You're either an owner or you're not an owner.
How are you going to get in?
Well, because he's an officer of the association now.
Wait a second. Well, what comes first? Owning comes first.
No,
you wouldn't let my
you don't have to
videographer.
be
You
an
would not
owner.
let my videographer here because he was a non-owner, and you chased him out and you called the police. Okay? So if you don't let a non-owner in a board meeting, how can you let a non-owner be secretary? I love Terry, but
Okay.
you got to be consistent,
Okay,
don't you?
you go and check it out, okay?
I just checked it out.
Okay, you go check it out. Okay, we'll go on to the last item on the agenda now, which is...
Owner by Monday.
Huh?
Make him an owner by Monday.
Hey Terry, you just got some real estate.
Okay, item number 5.
1%. I didn't attack.
Item number 5.
All I did was try to be fair. Be a 1% owner. And then you
Item
can be
number
president.
5.
Then you can be president.
Item number 5 is board communication control. One of the problems we had,
Protocol, not control.
protocol, one of the items that Mr. Henry Harvey had, because of the volume of work he was doing in the office, and it was a very difficult task. I'll just read what I had. Our new property manager has a daunting task facing him to bring International Village back on the right track in many areas. For the past 4 weeks, he has been diligently and successfully completed many of these tasks. He still has a long way to go and needs to spend all his time focused on IV's shortcomings and problems. Mr. Harvey can better explain what he has ahead of him, but he's not here to explain it. In order to direct his total efforts to IV's manifold problems, Mr. Harvey needs to direct his attention to his priorities. Unfortunately, he has been diverted from these tasks by frequent interruptions by board members and others who show up in his office unannounced, demanding his immediate attention. This is another example of what happened today that caused him to quit. In an attempt to alleviate this problem, some board members suggested that the board vote on a communications protocol that is utilized in similar condominium situations. Okay, this is the protocol that is used elsewhere. The principal liaison between the board of directors and the property manager is to be the president, and in the absence of the president, the vice president. All board members' questions, suggestions, and appointment requests on any issues must be funneled through the president, who can prioritize them and present them to the property manager in a timely manner. No board members should make any appointments or interviews with third parties on any subjects that are not first approved by the manager. So a lot of things have been done by other board members going out of left field, interrupting the manager, and creating problems so he couldn't do his work. The president should be aware of all the activities in the office and on the manager's desk that are imminent and urgent, and can direct the traffic to ease the pressure on the property manager. The manager has virtually no time for chats and casual conversations with board members or anyone else. He has hard business to play all day. So if the matter cannot be resolved, that a board member makes an inquiry, and it can't be resolved then by the president, then they will be presented to the manager. What we were trying to do is take his load off, okay? I'd like to take a motion for the above protocol listed as 1, 2, 3 before above to be strictly followed by all board members. Who will make the motion?
It's like a control thing.
I make a motion for the above protocol listed as 1, 2, 3 above to be strictly followed by all board members.
Okay, that's a protocol. Any second on that?
Unbelievable.
Doug Myers, okay. Now the board can talk about it.
What makes you think
Yeah, the board can talk about it.
Just to give you guys a little clearer understanding, I'm guilty of this. You know, for the last few weeks I've been popping in on him all the time, going to his office, asking him questions, wanting to know what's going on here, what's going on with that. And without even realizing it, I was taking up a lot of his time. I was distracting him from what he was doing. You know, a lot of the questions I had were important, to me especially. But in discussing with fellow board members, I think that what we're doing here is, whatever questions we have, we should discuss them as a board first. Try to resolve whatever issues that we have amongst each other, and then funnel all our questions, requests through one person. And just to make his job easy, instead of getting 9 people in all the time asking the same questions over and over again, we work it all together, and then one individual goes in, clarifies, and reports back to the rest of the board.
Mark, if you have a
That's
question,
like a telephone. That's like
you're
a
the only
telephone.
one on the board that's competent in construction, that knows anything. I think everyone will agree with that. So you're going to tell me you're going to go through me, Stuart, Michelle, Scott, and whomever about construction, or you're going to go to Henry directly? I mean, that
At
doesn't
this
make
point,
sense.
no, at this point what I would
That's
do...
unproductive.
No, at this point what I would do is, if I wanted to know what particular events were taking place in whatever project,
Yeah?
I would CC the entire board on an email or a communication and bring it up to Scott and say, these are my concerns, I'd like to know what's going on with this, that, and the other thing. Now, if Scott knows what's going on, he can fill me in. If Scott says, I'm not versed at that, I invite you to make an appointment and go meet with him, and Henry decides to make an appointment, and I can meet with him to sit down with him, we'll do it that way. But if I keep popping in on him, and everybody keeps popping, it's very distracting, and it hurts. So this is to give him some relief.
The reason why I like...
In the hours of 1 to 2 and 4 to 6.
I work on the road.
Mark,
so
hold
whenever
on a
I'm
second.
free, I kind of...
That's
Mark.
what you should be
Marcy,
doing.
please don't interrupt.
The reason why I think you're an asset to the board is...
Okay.
Scott, hold on.
Okay.
The reason why I think you're an asset to the board is because you actually have knowledge that other board members don't have. We all have something to bring to the table.
Sure, absolutely.
So what I'm saying is there might be something that might not be that simplistic that you could just put in an email, and to hold you back from, or hold me back for something that I'm knowledgeable about, to go directly to him as opposed... You're on the board because you have expertise separate from us.
Right.
So to go to other people would actually take away from him, because there might be something that you could add to what he does, because he doesn't know everything. He can't.
Regardless of my expertise, I'm always going to discuss it with the board first. Always.
Look,
Always. And worst case scenario, you guys learn something from me and I learn something from you. But we talk amongst each other first.
Okay.
Always ask questions. Anyway, please, please.
please, no, let's do, any other board discussion here? No? Okay, board's finished talking. Anybody want to ask questions?
Yeah, if the guy sent in a resignation.
Oh, no.
What makes you think that Harvey is and he's gonna come back?
I'm hoping that we can
So aren't
convince
you
him,
wasting
and
a
I'm
lot of
hoping
time
that
trying
we
to
can
get
get,
somebody else?
that we can get Mr.
No,
Wolf
he didn't
to
resign.
stop harassing him. That's all.
No, he didn't.
Wait. Well, that's defamation. You can't say he's harassing when you haven't been present.
That's the only-
Let's not digress. Let's keep moving
No,
forward.
no. He just made a statement that I'm gonna answer.
All right.
I don't take that. Give me the thing.
You know, Stuart, they just keep going over this. Can we not, wait, Stuart, you're gonna be repetitive. Why can't they have, every day, an hour set aside so that questions can be answered by the manager, and answer them, instead of going through everything? In other words, if you send email, I mean, you do this. Any corporation has set time where you can ask that question.
Good idea.
Yeah, we were talking about a weekly conference call with the manager, a weekly meeting or something like that.
Yes.
I have the
Scott's
next
going to have
shot.
direct control.
He made it to me, I gotta be tolerant. I think it's funny, it's not funny. First of all, I'm gonna now answer Mr. Samuels.
What do you say now?
He said that I'm the culprit. So what I'm gonna propose is a very simple solution to this problem.
Don't quit.
I'm not quitting, don't worry about it. I quit because I would be very vulnerable as a trustee. Okay, here's what I'm suggesting. In small groups, I will meet with the board and Mr. Harvey, let him face me one-on-one with all his complaints, because all of them are lies. Because I always, and the girls can verify, I said, is he free for a minute?
Stuart,
And if
you're
they
going
say
back.
yes,
You're going back.
no, I want to meet with the board
You know,
in
forget
small
about it.
groups.
You know what, Stuart? Go forward. Go forward. If you
They're
have-
accusing me.
Marcy, we're going forward. We were addressing.
Okay.
Hold on. We're going forward. We're addressing why we can't meet with him, and in not being able to meet with him, I heard all the voices say then Scott will have complete control.
Right.
I mean, that's a fact.
Okay.
If we have to go through Scott to talk to the property manager, and Scott refuses, then we're at an impasse, aren't we?
Right.
Well, I mean, what do we have? And obviously everyone is going along whether they believe it or not. If they believed it so strongly, then they would have collectively come up with this before, not after.
But Doug, your dad,
If Scott,
Doug, your dad still wants to talk to Harvey, which is ridiculous already. Drop it, let it go.
let's just say.
No, I'm
Scott-
just speaking on behalf, I'm not speaking about
Let
him.
it go.
I'm addressing the grievances of the fact that nobody, not just Stuart, no one can talk to
Now,
the property
understand,
manager.
listen, if Scott goes rogue on us, and he's like, no way, I'm controlling the office, none of you are speaking to him, well, then the board's gonna have to deal with Scott,
Well, wait a minute.
okay? We're not talking about that. We're just talking about simplifying the manager's amount of input that comes into his office. That's it. We're not giving total control to Scott. He's our mouth. He's our mouthpiece.
If he has the control to dictate whether we can or cannot meet with the property manager, that control is in the sentence.
Listen, when you ask him a question, if he can't answer it, we can't solve it.
Wait. If Scott can't answer it, you think
Him or the board?
You think you're going to get a pure answer
Or
from
the
Scott?
board.
He's proven this evening
Or
that
the
he's
board.
not out for purity
Or
here.
the board. If we can't resolve it, it goes to the
But
manager.
it's not or the
If
board.
the manager can't resolve
Art,
it, then
it's
we have a
right
problem.
there written. It's not or the board. It's the president and vice president, not or the board.
We
need to go through him.
He's the
to decide.
mouthpiece to the manager. Yes.
Scott has too much to do.
That is first of all-
The job of the president is to directly deal with the manager.
Does everyone
That's his
think
job.
that defines control if we have to go through that?
He doesn't control the message.
But he controls whether the message actually gets through.
No, because if he doesn't satisfy our requests, then we got to deal with him.
What do we do? What is our recourse then?
Remove him.
So if you and I just have the grievance and we're outnumbered, so if we're outnumbered and everyone's okay with him having the control, then what do we do?
Then the board has spoken.
This board has spoken to give him total power, total control.
Not total power. We picked one individual to deal with our manager on our behalf. So that way he's
But
getting
he's not
one person.
representing our behalf. He has the right
He's
to
supposed
not,
to.
But I think it's clear that he's clearly not going to do that.
I can't say that because I don't have a problem so far with it.
Mark,
I've been, let me tell you something. In the last 4 weeks since this manager's been here, I've been communicating with everybody with emails. I CC Henry Harvey I keep him in a loop with everything. We've all been talking fine.
You've been,
There's no
you
problem.
just admitted you were with Henry Harvey all the time.
I have, and I've been interrupting him. So a lot.
You're contradicting yourself.
No,
You just
I
said
understand the
you were with him.
value in now going through one person.
You don't understand the value. You understand the value assuming that Scott is going to work in good faith.
Well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He hasn't done anything
Why
yet.
should we give him the benefit of the doubt?
Because I need to satisfy the
otherwise.
need of my manager.
Oh, Mark, you're killing me, man.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to put the manager first.
So am
If
I.
he needs to condense 9 to 1, I'm with him. I have no
This has
problem with
nothing
that.
to do with the manager.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing the manager. You're making it personal with him. I'm talking about the manager.
Oh my, Mark.
You're saying he's going to screw us all and take complete power. I'm saying, Mark, that's what you're saying.
No, that's what you're, Mark, that's what you're saying. You don't have the guts to say it in front of public speaking.
That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about.
Mark, you disappoint me.
I'm sorry. I'm focused on helping our manager.
You're a rubber stamp, Mark. You're a rubber stamp for him.
Let me just make a comment. The board of directors is voted in to help the unit owners and to make the place better. If you give all this power to Scott, and believe me, I know how the man thinks, he will not let me get through with anything, and by the time we get together, it'll be 3 days later. So who are you kidding? This can't possibly work. You guys can outvote us, but I want it on the record that I'm totally against it. This is a democracy. It's the US of A. It is not a dictatorship.
Oh, wait a second, the audience. You want to be the audience. Go ahead. Sir, you wanted to say something? What do you mean enough? We didn't say anything. We've been listening to your nonsense.
Are you going to do benchmarks for the manager? Are you going to set, you have to do this,
Goals and
this,
objectives.
this? Yes.
Yeah,
Will they be published and presented to everybody in the community?
they should be, sure.
No, they should.
They haven't
They
been
have to be.
Okay.
Everyone has to know the benchmarks of this guy. So if he does bad, we can say, shit him. Right?
Well, actually, no, we can't, because if he has a contract for a year, then we
If
can't.
he signs a contract and does not meet these benchmarks, what do we do?
You're dead.
We're screwed for a year.
Answer.
Why give him a contract?
Now stop. Wait, I wanna
We
hear.
have never given anyone a contract.
I agree with you. A property manager should always have goals and objectives. Goals and
You're
objectives.
not the president.
Always.
You're not the
Neither am
president.
I. Neither am I. Every property manager should have goals and objectives which they have to achieve. And typically in my field, part of my compensation is held back. And say it's an 80-20 split or a 90-10 split. At the end of the year or semi-annually, the client, us, would evaluate did he meet his goals and objectives. For instance, if our community requires $2.9 million in revenue in order to function, we would give him a goal and objective to reduce our needs by 2%. And then we would measure him throughout the year, and if he meets that goal and objective, then he met his criteria for why he was hired. That's what that gentleman's talking about.
But he wants.
I'll be honest with you.
Wait, let me.
This community is in such a bad shape, we can put together all kinds of goals and objectives, and he'll meet every single one of them. Because starting from the bottom, you can only go up. But I agree with what you're saying.
I just want to know
I
the
agree.
benchmarks.
Well, you know what? We've discussed it. Have we put anything on paper? No, we haven't. We should. We should.
Yes,
Part of
there
this
will be.
contract, we should.
Is there a guarantee to everyone here that there will be something on paper saying this is the performance
I can't speak for the board.
Mr. President,
We will talk about it, though.
Mr. President, could you please answer?
He can't hear you. He's deaf. He can't hear you.
He wants to know what you think
Someone
about
please
that.
relate to Mr. President, please.
He wants to know what you think about putting something in writing for the manager to achieve.
Okay, the contract that was given to us by the attorney has to be reviewed by the board completely and have it ready by the 15th of April.
But that's
So
not what he's asking.
anything can be put in there that we want. If this board will, or every member of the board will get the opportunity to review this and discuss it in caucus, and it will not go before a vote until everything is finished. That's it. Going to be complete. I'm not making the contract myself. I'm not doing it. Everyone's going to do it. We're going to put all our heads together and get the best contract that we can get to protect the village.
We just took.
It will be discussed.
Wait a second. You just proposed at this meeting to give him a year contract. You didn't say a year contract with provisions. You said a year contract.
Every contract has provisions.
Well, shouldn't they know what the provisions are?
Yeah, we're gonna give him a contract.
Publish the contract?
Well, first of all, what I want to know is Florida's a right to work state, which means that you could fire someone without any reason. However, what he wants to do is protect the property manager, which means once that contract is signed.
It's not gonna be signed
Let
till
me finish.
everybody.
Let me finish. Let me
approves
finish.
it.
Once that contract is signed, so what is your name?
Well,
Okay, I can't.
just call me Lenny.
Lenny, once that contract is signed, if the day after that contract is signed, he decides to smoke all day as opposed to an hour a day, we have no recourse. From that day, we're protecting him. There's no reason, if you, at your job in the state of Florida, if you screw up, your boss could say you're fired like that. But they want to actually do what is unique to Florida, which is actually protect him, which means if he decides to smoke all day, he has that right because he's locked in for a year. They want to give him that ability to do so. It doesn't make sense to me. If he's so good, then why should he need a year contract?
Was there ever a contract before?
Okay, we're supposed to be talking about voting on this protocol, which gives Scott sole, complete, and absolute power to decide what questions or topics go to the property manager. Now, it's been my experience that Scott, for all his wisdom and knowledge, plays favorites. So for any reason whatsoever, he does not want another board member's question to go to
That is absolute nonsense.
May I finish, please? If for any reason, personal reason whatsoever, and he's demonstrated this time and time again,
Yes.
he has absolute power to restrict and censor questions going to the property manager. We need to be very, very careful.
Okay, you have a choice. The board has a choice that they're gonna let any manager come in here. And I know that Frances had the same problem with her board when she was president, and she was the only liaison, and we complained about that. That's true. That's correct. That's correct. But if that's what you want, then you're going to destroy any manager you have. He'll never have a chance to get out of the office and do what he has to do in the community.
And you destroyed them all, Scott.
Okay, call a roll, please.
I just want to know, wait, I want to make a statement here, and the statement is that I checked with KW and a lot of giant management companies, and nobody could find one property manager that's under contract. And the reason is exactly what Dove said. The day we sign the contract, if I walk in there, anybody, any board member, including Scott, and he can tell you where to go and how to get there, and there's nothing we could do for a year. That's why they don't give. This is not Willie Mays we're giving a contract to.
Put a pedestal on it saying
That's
that.
not true. If you have a good person and you want him, you put him under contract and you hold him.
If he's so good, what do you?
Because if he is good, there is such a shortage of this type of quality man. He can go out tomorrow and make much more money somewhere else. In fact,
worked for 3 months. He couldn't find a job. Answer me that.
Okay, excuse me, 1 second. Just to put things in perspective, alrighty? Just to put things in perspective, excuse me, folks. I was president for 3.5 months. And the first thing I did, because I see the way the manager was being bothered by directors, it was Howard that was the manager at the time, the first thing I did was put a big sign on the door, and I told everybody, I said, you know, we need to respect the manager's time, and I'm going to see the manager at 2 o'clock, you know, and hopefully I don't have to spend any time with him. I'll see him at 2 o'clock. From 9 to 3, he should be busy running the office, doing his work, getting things done. After 3 o'clock, the board members could make appointments to see the manager. That was my idea when I was thrown into that position. Mr. Samuels said, you can't do that. I'm a board member. I have as much right as you do.
You have it wrong, Jerry.
Excuse me, sir.
It was Stuart Wolf who pulled down your signs.
No, Stuart was
He pulled down your signs and said, you're not keeping me out.
I understand that. Stuart was just at fault. But I just want you to know that Scott and Stuart, okay, were the ones that told me I had no authority to do that. They were board members. I only had 1 vote. They were equal to me. In fact, one day, I was sitting with Howard in a meeting, and we were talking, and Mr. Stewart, Scott and Stewart came in the office, and I said, excuse me, I'm talking with Howard. I'll be done in a few minutes. If you don't mind, please wait outside, and I'll be done. Mr. Samuels said, he said, my information is more important than yours. Okay, and I'm a board member, and I need my information now. It had to do with how the envelopes were printed for the election. And so he stopped Howard and me from our conversation. I mean, I'm not getting paid for it.
Okay, Jerry.
I'm not getting paid for the job.
Jerry Merrow,
So
we're going to call the roll now. This is enough.
I'm not getting paid for the job.
Call the roll, please.
1 second.
Call the roll. Please call the roll.
So I said,
Shut off his mic.
So I said that I would wait. I waited. So after he was done, and he checked with the printer and we got everything. Pardon me, Marcy, you're a new member to the board, okay? Look, I'm trying to. I'm telling a short story. After they were done, after Scott and Stewart.
Jerry, you only get 3 minutes total. Jerry, please stop abusing it.
After Scott and Stewart were done, I said, okay.
We got the message, Jerry.
Done. Would you excuse me so Howard and I can finish March?
Jerry.
No, he shut the thing off.
Okay, you can hear me.
Call the roll, please.
After he was done, he said to me,